Greetings, friends, and welcome to this edition of Tales from the Tabletop, the video series where I scour the internet and my own personal experiences to bring you anecdotes of adventure. The fun, the funny, the farcical, the teachable moments from Warhammer to D&D and everything in between. And I take my favorite one and I illustrate it for your listening and viewing pleasure. Now, today is a little bit different, because today my favorite story is not the one that I illustrated, but the one that I did illustrate would be my favorite to illustrate out of these, if that makes any sense at all. If it doesn't make any sense at all, well, it's par for the course for me, and I do beg your pardon. Our first story today comes from SquarePipe7679. Our group was about a third of the way through an Underdark campaign, and every time we traveled, everyone rolled on the events table, and our last initiative order determined what order those events happened in. Multiple times, one of us, a goblin professor, got us lost whenever she rolled on the table. After this happened, a solid 6 or so times, she cried out in character, "I have the sense of direction of a dead pigeon!" To which our cleric replied, "Actually, it's still worse than a dead pigeon. If you throw a dead pigeon, you still know what direction it goes in." No one could even put a sentence together because we were all laughing at this absurdity. In the same campaign, we absolutely busted a certain boss. Our warlock completely cooked him with an eldritch blast. The blast was so brutal that when I began making saving throws for the boss, one of us just blurted out, "The only thing your saving throws are gonna determine are how many ashes are left." Classic. Our next story comes from Derek and the Dominoes 95. Our monk once spent most of a fight saying, "That's not my name!" getting progressively louder and louder each time. For context, her backstory was that she was raised by an order of evil monks that didn't believe in names, only titles. Very similar to the Ashai from Samurai Jack. Love Samurai Jack. So after like 5 "That's not my names," she was about to kill the head priest when she calmly grabs the priest, brings him close, and says, "My name is Amelia," which was her mother's name. She then punched a hole clear through the priest's chest. We lost our heads. This was the first time any of us heard her real name. Beholder06450 writes, "I made my brother so mad that he quit." We were playing 3.5, not 5th edition, so some of the lingo might be different. I was playing a diviner wizard / bard. My brother was a fighter. Friend 1 was a rogue. Friend 2 was a cleric. We were not good guys. For instance, my brother was a Zentarim. He had a huge greatsword, flaming, icy, Vorpal with increased critical range. A Vorpal hit on an 18, 19, or 20, not just a natural 20. Rogue had some custom gloves that gave extra sneak attack dice and helped him pickpocket. Our orc cleric had a disgusting holy book of Groomsh made out of elf skin with elf genitalia on the cover that gave him extra spell slots every day. Gracious. I was a spy and had permanent arcane sight that allowed me to detect exact magic. It's a homebrew spell that allowed me to know what spell effects were in place specifically. We had just fought our way through a Yuan-Ti temple to find a sacred idol. As we approached it, we heard a voice say, I'll give you ultimate power if you'll only kill your friends. My brother was the first to act. Surprise round, he rolls a 19 on the cleric, confirms, and it is an instant decapitation. For the regular initiative, my brother is first again. The rogue is second, I am last. My brother attacks the rogue, rolls poorly, doesn't kill him. The rogue disengages and attempts to flee. My turn. I ask, what kind of armor are you wearing? He smirks confidently. Full plate. You can't touch me. I say, my arcane sight can tell me if it is magical. Is it? No, he says. I cast Shrink Item on his armor. The DM giggles and narrates. Your armor starts shrinking. Make a strength save. He rolls a natural 1. Your armor shrinks. You resist, but it's no good, and you ooze out of your armor between the joints like toothpaste. My brother threw his papers and books on the floor, got up, and stormed out, saying, F you! To me, to the rogue, to the DM, to the cat. Meanwhile, we're all laughing our faces off. Rogue says, as he continues to run away, that idol, you can have it! You earned it! And then runs like a coward. I claim my prize. A prize that, as it turns out, did nothing. We all, minus my brother, ended the night having a huge laugh and many beers. This next story is amazing. This next story is not the one that I'm illustrating, but it's my favorite one this go round. It's not the one I'm drawing because I couldn't pick the right moment I wanted to illustrate, and the one that I do illustrate I thought just made a funnier drawing. But just strap in, this one's beautiful. The story comes from The Disturbed Dragon, and it is titled, My Bard Became a Yandere Dragon's Booty Call, and later married her. Just a little bit of background. Yandere is like which I am mispronouncing, is an anime term for like the shy, sweet girl who, if anyone has a crush on like the protagonist, and if anyone kind of gets too close to the protagonist, gets super jealous and turns into kind of a psycho. And it's a trope across a bunch of different anime. So that's Yandere. Also, for those of you not in the know, powerful dragons in Dungeons & Dragons can usually take a humanoid form of some kind, usually at will. So here we go. So this happened about 1.5 years ago. We have a party of 4. A human bard, a kobold druid, me, a tiefling wizard, and a Goliath barbarian. We were running a homebrew campaign with our DM, being one of the crits always succeed sort of guy. We all thought it made it more funny when you crit succeeded or crit failed, but these successes and failures always had a lasting effect. A crit on a 20, say athletics for jumping over something, suddenly, you've gained the attention of a minor spirit of the air with your nimbleness, and it is now following you around as a new plot hook or perhaps a resource. Critical fail on perception to investigate a corpse, well then, you're absolutely convinced that whoever it is isn't dead, they're just sleeping, and it would be very rude of you to wake them up, which is especially surprising when the corpse turns out to be a zombie. Things that are straight up impossible are not. Not if you roll a critical. I'm gonna be real with you. So far, this DM is my kind of DM. Whoever's running this game, get in touch. Let's have a game. I wanna roll with you. Here we go. Also, a plot hook or a resource from a critical success? Not always good. Sometimes it meant a new enemy, political intrigue, or a riot. One time, our barbarian pulverized a troll so hard that a shard of that troll's skull lodged itself into the barbarian's eye. More importantly, we are all veteran players. I've played with this group for a while, but at least 2 of them have been playing since first edition. Our longtime DM tended to be a bit special with his ironic punishments. Our bard was the typical horny bard template, and though, as an aside, I'm tired of horny bard, oh, this gets good. Here we go. The bard was a joking trickster who propositioned anything with holes. In real life, we all laughed about it. The twist was that he was this way because he was under a curse cast by a jilted lover. It lowered his inhibitions when among strangers, so he tended to either blurt stuff out or proposition women. It also meant that he couldn't keep a secret, and he had adopted the joking personality in hopes that he could pass off any slip-ups or inappropriate comments as jokes. It was honestly a good way to handle why he was so impulsive. Then our DM revealed how evil he could be. To set the scene, we're all around level 10 at the time. We've got some decent magical items and are on a quest in a snowy wilderness, seeking out an abandoned dungeon that has some artifact potentially in it for a nobleman. The nobleman is crooked as hell, but we are curious about the artifact. Back in town, we have allies looking into him in case this is a trap. As an aside, it was a trap, but I digress. The artifact was guarded by an elder blue dragon. We can't fight this. Dragons in this setting are renowned for their ability to cast magic beyond any mortal kin. Anything of adult or higher has access to a variety of tier 6 spells. An elder has tier 8 spells at will, and an ancient has literally any spell available to it at all. We'd almost died running from an adult copper dragon earlier in the campaign, saved only by several strategic potions and some lucky rolls. So, we're kind of terrified. This wasn't something near our power level, and the sheer cliff behind us would kill us all if we tried to fight it. Our bard slicks back his hair, and we buff his charisma as best we can, and send him to diplomance the dragon, praying he doesn't blurt out something that convinces her to end us all. Isla, the dragon, is a lonely blue dragon who's lived in the tundra her whole life. She hunts the bighorn sheep in the area for food, and hasn't spoken to anyone but spirits and summons in decades. So when our bard approaches her and speaks with her, the dragon flubs her social roles. She stutters to hell and back and is quite interested, if you know what I mean. In real life, we are all laughing about the socially stunted immortal dragon when Bard says that he rolls to charm and seduce her. Our DM looks at him, then down at his notes, and he gets a wicked grin. He says that it auto-succeeds since she is so lonely. But as she shifts into her elven form, she pulls out handcuffs. We never asked how or why she had them. Knowing our DM, it was a spur-of-the-moment ass pull.
You know, you're just pulling that out of your ass. That is an ass pull, my friend.
Our bard is suddenly uncertain as the DM calls a fade to black. As we break for snacks, he has the bard roll 1d20 without telling him what it's for. He, of course, rolls a 20. As we all return to the table, the DM describes how the dragon fell in love with him. Being inexperienced, now awakened to new sensations and blah 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 blah, she liked what she got. We are all dreading what happens next, since our DM is very clearly enjoying himself. He's preparing to drop something on us, and we just know it. Isla the dragon gives us the artifact. The bard kisses her goodbye, and we head back to the city. Expose the noble, and get a helm that can see through magical darkness perfectly. We play several more games over the next week before our DM describes us hearing a loud thwapping sound. And it sounds like a sheet caught in the wind. And Isla descends from the sky in her dragon form. She swoops down, grabs the bard, and flies off with him, psychically telling us that she'll bring him back tomorrow. We're all kind of confused. We set up camp, deal with a goblin attack, and in the morning, the bard is returned with a grin on his face. We're all annoyed at having to deal with combat without him. This becomes a running thing. Isla swoops down and grabs our bard at random every time we're traveling somewhere. She also doesn't particularly care that she just scared a trade caravan off the road, or revealed us to the forces of evil, or whatever. Eventually, after this happens like 10 different times, our bard convinces her to approach us in mortal guise and ask first. She agrees after a long, logical argument. Y'all, if a dragon decides she wants you, logic will not help you. Just a truism for you to keep in your back pocket. Then we meet Glixtana, a red adult dragon, on one of our quests. She has crucial information that we need to proceed. Isla swoops down and beats her to a pulp for daring to go near her darling. And we all learn that she has been actively stalking us ever since we left her cave. She is a Yandere dragon. We're all worried about what'll happen to us if our bard gets hurt. She overhears us and cheerfully informs us that she'll simply torture us to death if anything should happen to her darling. Our DM has made statements like this in previous campaigns. This DM does not exaggerate his threats. Our bard has just become the group's VIP. All because an isolated blue dragon was curious about the mortal ways of love, and our bard critically succeeded on how much she loved him. Not how she loved him or what she'd do for him, but how much. However, the story doesn't end there. Session after session, she approaches, is all possessive and creepy of the bard, and runs off with him at least once more. It's getting out of hand, and the bard was not enjoying it in real life. Two of us took the DM aside and explained that the bard was getting pretty uncomfortable with the whole gag, since he did have a girlfriend in real life. We didn't expect the DM to call his girlfriend and invite her to play as Isla the dragon in our campaign. It's confirmed. This is the end all be all. This is the best DM a guy like me could ever hope for. Cherish this man. Our friend's girlfriend was a total newbie, and our bard could not make half of his jokes with her in the room, which means you're telling the wrong jokes, son. We tried to avoid playing for her. Very little could survive one turn of combat against her if she actually knew what she was doing. And so she shifted Isla's character from Psycho Yandere to a particularly sweet, just engaged style of sappiness. In the end, Isla became an integral part of our group, and she and the bard got married, which broke the bard's curse. 2 weeks later, the players got married in real life. It was a good campaign and a satisfactory conclusion to what was meant to be a joking, horny bard. Look me in the eye and tell me that's not the best. That story has everything: adventure, danger, torture, fighting, escapes, true love, miracles. Alright, this next one is the one that I have been illustrating the whole time. It was a lot of fun for me. I hope it's fun for you. It's a good bit shorter, but in my opinion, similarly sweet. So strap in. This story is from Arachnid 5, and the title is My Table is in for a Very Interesting Wedding. So at the table that my friends and I play at, we have a player who is playing as a Raccoonicorn. A raccoon with a unicorn horn that can use magic. Lore-wise, he was a regular raccoon that ate a unicorn and became who they are today. I question the logistics of that story background. Raccoons are like this big, unicorns are horses. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Also, isn't it kind of an egregious sin to eat a unicorn? But let's put all that to the side. We'll fast forward a few sessions, and we encounter a group of unicorns, which is called a blessing. A blessing of unicorns in a clearing. My ranger was hidden in the bushes, admiring the majesty of these creatures, and that's when the Raccoonicorn says he wants to try and talk to them. Well, this player proceeds to roll some amazing riz. I had to look it up. It is the term that young people now use for charisma. Back in my day, we used to call it casting charisma, because, we weren't really into the brevity thing at the time. But I digress. He rolls low, but one use of silvery barbs and a mutter from the player of, watch it be a 20. And it was. The unicorn was smitten. He then proceeded to give the unicorn a diamond, and they have been a couple for a good bit now. We are currently in a dungeon, but it has been established that after we get out of said dungeon, we will be holding the wedding. Now, here is the kicker. The player and I were talking today, and the subject of the diamond was brought up, and do you know what he says? That diamond was just a gift. I forgot diamonds meant a proposal. So this guy accidented his way into a unicorn wife, and another funny story comes out of our table. What can I say, y'all? I'm a sucker for a happy ending. The illustration for this one is just, of course the unicorn has a rainbow mane, because of course she does. I mean, I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to throw down some rainbows. Nice bright colors. What are we doing here if we're not using the bright colors? The expression on the unicorn's face is because homeboy didn't realize what he was getting himself into. But I will say that the player is at least smart enough to know what he's got when he's got it and be like, you know what, I didn't mean to, but I'm into it, so I'm not going to mess this up. And I think that's as somebody who married above his station, that's definitely the correct attitude to have. I had no idea what that chick was doing with me, but I wasn't going to try and jinx it. At the altar, I said I do, she said I do, and then I said no takebacks. And it's been 17 years now. Anyhow, if you'd like the original art from this episode, it'll be for sale on my store at coffeeandhate.biz, click store at the top. And until we meet again, fair travelers, may your dice roll high and never be cursed. There's a cat. There's a kitty cat walking by my feet. I'd like to introduce you to Puddles. Puddles decided that he'd just as soon not leave me alone this evening. Ain't that right, buddy? Ain't that right? And now, the punishment. Hold you like a baby. Alright, down you go. Go play. Is it Aisla? I think it's Aisla. It's spelled Isla.